Jungkook sat quietly in a military jeep that rocked slowly on the gravel road. His eyes stared ahead, but his mind drifted to the moments he had just passed. His uniform was still neat, though there were traces of fatigue on his face. The past few months had been a severe test of his physical and mental strength. As part of the Special Security Forces, he had taken on the task of protecting the president of South Korea under risky circumstances. Now that the duty is officially over, Jungkook returns to the barracks to continue the rest of his military service. The afternoon breeze carried the scent of wet leaves, awakening memories of the days before, days full of tension and adrenaline. At that time, Jungkook received a sudden call that made him leave the routine of his military service. He was chosen to join the elite Presidential Guard team, an honor and a huge responsibility. Bodyguards aren't just about bravery, the captain, his team leader, said on the first day of training. It's about controlling fear, reading the situation, and making sure there isn't the slightest gap in protection. Those words stuck in Jungkook's mind as he went on various missions, including the most tense one during the president's state visit to Europe. The tension reached its peak when they received information about a serious security threat. At every step, every second, Jungkook had to ensure that his eyes remained sharp and his reactions quick. However, this task is not just about dealing with real threats. There was an equally heavy psychological pressure. Long days with little sleep, being alert at all times, and always under the spotlight made Jungkook feel nostalgic for the simpler life in the barracks. He missed the laughter of his friends, the small talk at night, and the simple yet warm sense of community. When the jeep finally arrived at the barracks gate, Jungkook gazed out at the familiar yet pleasant scenery. The sound of footsteps, the commander's shout, and the laughter of his comrades greeted him like soothing music. "Jungkook!" shouted Junho, one of his best friends, waving his arms. "You're finally back. How does it feel to be the country's hero?" Jungkook smiled a little. "There are no heroes here, just regular soldiers doing their job," he replied, making Junho laugh loudly. At the barracks, Jungkook soon fell into his old routine morning runs, shooting practice, and keeping the facilities clean. Although more relaxed than his previous assignments, he now saw life with a new perspective. Every little task, like guarding the barracks gate or organizing the ranks, felt more meaningful. That night, while sitting with his friends in the courtyard of the barracks, they asked Jungkook to tell them about his experience as a presidential bodyguard. "Come on, tell us about one exciting incident. We know there are many interesting stories," urged Hyunwoo, who was sitting next to him. Jungkook shook his head with a chuckle. "Most of them are just routine. But if you want to know the most thrilling one, it was when I almost fell asleep during night watch outside the palace." They burst out laughing at that simple story. Although Jungkook did not share the details of the threats he had faced, he felt there was no need. What mattered was that he returned safely and was able to share precious moments with them. As the night wore on, Jungkook walked to the corner of the courtyard and gazed up at the starry sky. There, he reflected on his long journey, from an ordinary soldier to the president's bodyguard, then back to the barracks. He realized that every step he took had a purpose. "I may not be a hero," he thought, "but I will continue to do my best, no matter where I am stationed." The calm night sky reminds him that while the world may be full of tension, there are always moments of peace to savor. And tonight, under the brightly shining stars, Jungkook allowed himself to savor that small moment, ready to face a new day tomorrow. The past few days, Jungkook had been given the honor and the burden of being part of the president's security team. As the youngest member of the elite team, he had to prove himself amidst seasoned veterans. Not only were his physical skills tested, but also his composure in the face of real threats coming from all directions. The task reached its peak when a major threat targeted the president's safety during an international visit in Europe. Jungkook, along with his team, managed to thwart the attack with a well-planned strategy and unwavering courage. In that moment, He felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with pride at being able to protect the leader of his country. However, like all things, the assignment came to an end. The country's security stabilized, and the team members were given permission to return to their regular duties. When the jeep pulled up in front of the barracks gate, Jungkook got out with a small backpack. His colleagues in the military unit greeted him with cheers and warm hugs. Jungkook, how does it feel to guard the #1 person in the country? One of his friends teased. Jungkook just chuckled. It feels like taking care of everyone in the country, he replied briefly but meaningfully. His days at the barracks were filled with routine training, morning runs, shooting, and various other tasks. Although the pace was more relaxed than the president's security duties, Jungkook still went through everything with great discipline. During his free time, his friends often asked Jungkook to tell them about his interesting experiences as the president's bodyguard. But he only shares lighthearted stories, such as how he had to learn to drink tea politely at state events, or how he got nervous when meeting other world leaders. One night, while sitting under the starry sky with his friends, one of them asked, "What did you learn the most from the assignment?" Jungkook paused for a moment before answering. "I learned that protecting someone means giving the best of yourself, selflessly. Whether it's the president, your friends, or even this country. In the end, we're all part of something bigger." That answer made the atmosphere quiet, but respectful. Jungkook realized that even though his duties as the president's bodyguard were over, his service to the nation was not. He still had the responsibility to complete his military service and continue to be part of the wheel that kept the country at peace. That night, he slept with a sense of relief. Tomorrow was a new day, and he was ready for whatever awaited him in this uniform, in this role, for the Korea he loved.
Thank you everyone for watching the update video from member BTS. Don't forget to follow this channel so you don't miss other update news from BTS. Have a nice day.